When I was 17, I had an absolute plan for my life. I knew everything that was going to happen. I knew where I was going to go to college, what I was going to major in, where I was going to live after I graduated. I even knew who I was going to marry. I had it all planned out. I had a milestone and a goal for every stage in my life, and I was going to accomplish those or die trying. And I very nearly did. My college career cleaves cleanly into two halves. The first 2 years before my suicide attempt, when I knew exactly who I was and exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And the second 2 years after it, when I had no such certainty. My young life was defined by rigidity. I had a plan and a goal for everything because I naively believed that if I could control all the variables and I could set goals for myself and accomplish them in an orderly fashion, I could be successful. I could hold off failure. What I didn't understand was that the psychological damage that would happen if things didn't go according to my plan. Before my senior year of high school, I applied to and was accepted at only one college, Ohio University. They had the best journalism program in the state and one of the best in the country. And since my goal was to be a world-famous political reporter, Ohio University was the only school that I considered. Because I received my acceptance before my senior year started, I treated my senior year not as the fun, exciting last year of high school that it should have been, but as a speed bump, something holding me back from accomplishing all the goals that I had set forth for myself. I could not wait to get to college, work on my goals, and finally be an adult. But when I got to college, things started to go a little sideways. I didn't enjoy it. I missed my mom, with whom I was very close, and I struggled to connect with the other students in the honors program with whom I shared classes and a dorm. Because I was so obsessively laser focused on my goals, I assumed that all the other honors students would be as well. And it was baffling to me that these bright, talented, incredible kids were also interested in college. They wanted to go to parties and have fun and participate in extracurricular activities. I had no time for that. I had goals. So I wasn't a whole lot of fun. But what I lacked in fun, I made up for in success. I was a straight A student, and I received all the plum assignments on the student newspaper that normally went to much older students. And midway through my sophomore year, I got a huge win. I was the youngest person ever accepted into a very prestigious internship in Washington, D.C. I was working for a newswire, writing articles that were sent out to newspapers all across the country, and I was living in the city that was my end goal. I had a Capitol Hill press pass. I got to attend the State of the Union address and write a story about it. Everything was happening the way it was supposed to. I was living the dream. Except it was kind of a nightmare. I hated it. Political reporting is a full contact sport. It's worse now, but it was difficult back then. And if you wanted to get the good story, the quote, the headline, you had to be aggressive and combative. And I was a great writer, but I had no stomach for that side of it. I should have known something was wrong at the end of my internship when my favorite story that I'd written was one about what kind of sandwich you should pack in your lunch. It was also the story, ironically, that got published in the most newspapers across the country, so apparently I struck a nerve with my egg salad recipe. But this was the goal. This was the plan, and I was going to continue down it. So I parlayed that first internship into a second one at the American Journalism Review, which is the preeminent publication for journalists in the United States. I was writing about journalism for journalists. It was an amazing opportunity. And I was transferring to the University of Maryland, where they'd recruited me to finish my degree while still living and working in Washington, D.C. Remember, that was the end goal. I had so much momentum toward my goals. It was ridiculous. But I never stopped to ask myself if I was happy until one dark July night when, alone in my dorm room in College Park, Maryland, I swallowed a fistful of pills and washed it down with a bottle of Robitussin. I was scared and lonely and isolated and miserable, and I thought I was a complete failure. If I couldn't make this goal happen, if I couldn't achieve all of the plans that I had laid out for myself, in my mind, I was a failure. And I couldn't see my way through from that failure to a successful life. And if I couldn't be successful, I didn't want to live. But I did live, obviously. I called 911, and I spent the night in the hospital getting my stomach pumped while I was waiting for my parents who were rushing there from Ohio. They collected me and took me home, and I spent a week in the hospital getting the help I needed. And I transferred schools again and hit the reset button on my, to that point, very short life, this time without a plan. I started my junior year of college with no idea what I was going to do when I graduated. I was just focusing on day-to-day, living my life. But what happened next was so interesting, because once I stopped focusing obsessively on this master plan for my life, an opportunity presented itself. The summer before my senior year of college at Kent State University, I met some other students who were starting a business of their own. They were creating a web design and media marketing company that would create websites for bars and restaurants. Now, keep in mind, this was in 2001, the dark ages before every restaurant had their own website. So what we were proposing was actually pretty revolutionary, and most restaurants weren't totally bought into the idea. So these other students brought me on initially just to write content for the websites, but after going on a couple of sales calls and hearing me talk to restaurant owners about the value in having a website, we all figured out I was actually pretty good at sales. And then through the course of a couple of conversations, we found out I was the only one who could actually balance my own checkbook. So they handed me the QuickBooks login, and I became the CFO. Within a couple of weeks, I was running my first business, and I loved it. It engaged me in a way that being a newspaper reporter never had. And it provided the answer for me for what I was supposed to do after my graduation. I finished my journalism degree. At that point, I'd spent enough money. I just needed to get out of college. And then I applied to and was accepted to graduate school, and I got my MBA while working full-time. And I've stayed in the business world ever since. 17-year-old me wouldn't recognize the person I am today because it's so wildly different from that vision, that perfect plan that she had for me. And to be honest, the path that I've taken from her to here hasn't been entirely clear. My favorite question that I get asked when I'm interviewed is, so what was the career path that you followed to become the owner of a $30 million logistics brokerage? As though any of this was intentional. What my life actually has been is just a series of opportunities to which I've said yes and then made the best of. I said yes to Never Go Hungry, the business that we started in college. I said yes to graduate school, and yes to my judo instructor who gave me my first real job because he also happened to run a local nonprofit. When he left that organization, I said yes to following him to the next place, which ended up with me running a jewelry store. I said yes to moving to Cincinnati because I met a boy here I liked, and I thought I'd give it a try. And after I'd been here a little while, I said yes to selling makeup for Mary Kay Cosmetics. And finally, 9 years ago, I asked myself, what's the worst that could happen? And I said yes to starting Legion Logistics, which has turned into something far larger than I ever anticipated. None of these decisions were made as part of some master plan for my life. They were just seeing opportunities that seemed interesting and saying yes. And usually asking myself, what's the worst that could happen? What 17-year-old me didn't understand is that the beauty in life lies in its unpredictability. the surprise of it. I couldn't have predicted where I would end up today. There is no plan that would have landed me here. And I couldn't have skipped any of the steps in the middle. I couldn't have leapfrogged directly from my MBA into owning Legion Logistics. I was in no way prepared for that. Most days I still feel like I'm not prepared for what I do every day. But it all accumulates and leads you right to where we are. I think one of the mistakes that we make as a society is expecting everyone to have things figured out, especially at a young age. I never ask my daughter what she wants to be when she grows up, because that's not a question I could answer. And it doesn't seem fair to me to ask a 7-year-old to figure something out that I still can't. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 5 years or 10 years or in some mythical retirement that I'm supposed to be planning for. And I'm totally okay with that. All right, I'm mostly okay with that. But when I get scared or anxious about what the future holds, I remind myself that I've gotten to this point without much of a plan, so I'll probably be fine. And you will too. You'll be totally fine. Nothing in your life will work out the way you expect it to, or everything will, and that will be fine. Throughout your life, doors will open and close, opportunities will present themselves and vanish. You'll make choices that are easy and choices that are hard, and you'll make good decisions and some really bad ones. The only constant that will roll through your life, if it's anything like mine or everyone else I know, is uncertainty. And if the uncertainty scares you, I want you to consider the alternative. Imagine knowing right now, today, everything that's going to happen for the rest of your life. You're sitting here at 16 or 36 or 66 years old, and you know all of the beats that are going to happen in your life until the day you die. That doesn't sound like certainty to me. That sounds like prison. If my life hadn't completely fallen apart at the age of 19, I never would have gone to Kent State University. I never would have met those other students or started my first business or et cetera, ended up on this stage today, the person I am. My life, my perfect plan fell down spectacularly around me. But what I dug out of that rubble, what we all dig out of the rubble of failures, whether mundane or spectacular, was the knowledge that I had survived, and then the opportunity to build something better. Thank you.